15. And I'm currently 32. So that's been my whole life.
Why did you pick up a knife?
When I was 15 is when I started training with the knife. I was 15 years old. When I grew up with my father who grew up in the mountains, so we used to go hunting and all that, so I would carry a knife with me all the time. And I just really decided that, you know what, I need to learn how to actually handle this thing. I need to learn how to use it. That's why I started training with it. I actually started carrying one when I was 11 because we used to go hunting and all that. And then I was just into martial arts. And a good friend of mine, we were just kind of playing around. I was training Taekwondo before that, and playing around. And he goes, hey man, you got to check out the martial arts that we do. He was Filipino. So I went over to his house. We were checking it out, him and his uncles and stuff were training. And they were doing some really fast movement. I couldn't really see what they were doing when they came in the house. That's when I saw the knife for the first time. I was like, okay, this thing is something that I need to learn. Because that was crazy. That was incredible. That's what got me really influenced to train the knife.
Are you teaching Filipino martial arts, or do you have any other, your own system that you are teaching?
I teach Filipino martial arts. That's all I teach. My primary influence that we teach is Pekiti, Tirsia, Kali, which is pretty world famous. But now I have a lot of other Filipino martial arts influences. I trained with the Instructor system. I trained directly under Kune, who was Jeet and Filipino martial arts. And then when the system I originated in with my friend's family, that was not like a known martial art. It was a very kind of family-oriented method of training and fighting.
Could you mind to share with us about this family system that you mentioned?
Yeah, Pekiti Tirsia, it was known as, the Grandmaster of Pekiti Tirsia is Rantuan Leo Tengaki Jr. And I trained directly under one of his top guys, Tim Wade, for a long time. Some of his instructors under him. I got some time in with some of the other instructors of Pekiti Tirsia. At the time, it was known as the primary martial art for the Philippine Force Recon Marines. That's really what actually got me hooked into training that particular system. I was training other styles of Kali before, and in my sparring, it wasn't very clear how to actually apply the techniques and the tactics and all those things. And when I started training Pekiti Tirsia, a lot of those questions were starting to be answered, and I also was able to start sparring with better results. I was able to gain better positions, hit my training partners, my sparring partners without getting hit. So it has a lot of reputation of being military, a true combat blade fighting system. So it's what the Philippine Force Recon Marines, they've taken Pekiti Tirsia to the battlefield in southern Philippines and used it in combat. Now it's been more kind of modified a little bit. There's a guy named Master Sergeant Prado, who is now the head instructor of all the Philippine Force Recon Marines and the Philippine National Police.
Could you mind to share with us what is the difference between Pekiti Tirsia, Kali, and Eskrima?
It's really just the terminology of Kali. That's more the indigenous term in the Philippines, and it's really when we speak Kali, we're really meaning the blade. The blade is the highest expression. It's the true martial art of the Philippines. Later, it was adapted to the sticks. So Escrima and Arnis are more related to the stick fighting after the Spanish occupation took over the Philippines and banned the practice of the blade fighting arts. So it was still Kali, which is the blade fighting art, was always trained in secret, and they utilized the sticks to kind of hide their blade fighting techniques and tactics and all that. But it was really the Spanish who started calling it Escrima. Escrimador is Spanish for swordsman, and arnisador is also a Spanish term. Kali, there's a lot of stipulation on what Kali really means in the Philippines because there's so many different dialects. So there isn't really like one true, in stone meaning of the word Kali. Some people think that it's like the root word kalis, which kalis is sword or blade. Some people say it means to dig. Some others think the word kali means to scrape. So in the Philippines, it's very, there's nothing actually really certain for what the true meaning of the word kali is. But we do know that it's the indigenous term that was used to describe the martial arts, bare martial arts of blade fighting.
Could you mind to share with us, do you have any differences in teaching of these different martial arts?
Alright, well, I only teach Kali. I teach the true blade fighting methods of the Filipino martial arts. So I don't really teach the stick fighting. Now, the stick fighting is, we use the stick. The stick is a training tool for the blade. So all the techniques that we learn can translate to the stick or to the blade, because it's kind of more for modern day uses. Here in Chicago, it's common, not common, but we've had a few machete attacks, people attacking others with machetes, and something that we may have more at our disposal, especially right now in the winter, is like our car window ice scraper, right? So, we prepare for all the worst possible situations as well as the more easier type of situations. We just want to make sure that we are well prepared, well-rounded skills, so that way anything that we can pick up in our hands, we can adapt that to the situation, or even the absence of a tool to use as a weapon, we can use our hands, obviously, as weapons as well. Filipino martial arts is very different from other martial arts. I think it's really, besides fencing, but fencing is used more as a sport, we're really the only martial arts traditionally that starts with the weapons training. And then we progress down to the empty hands. And it's the same system. So the way that Kali differs from a lot of other martial arts is that you're learning the weapons, you're learning the empty hands. So when you are training to enhance your empty hands, you are learning the skills of the knife. You're learning to enhance the skills of all other weapons. Where a lot of other martial arts, once you train, it's a different system for your empty hands. It's a different system. You have to change the mentality when you go to the weapons or defending yourself or something like that. Kali keeps it streamlined, and it's literally one system that covers the whole categories of every possibility that you may have to encounter.
Could you mind to share with us, how do you start teaching the new person with your system Kali?
I actually have, if you go to kalicenter.com, I have everything set up right over there. I teach classes in person. People can start training in person. People can train with my online university that I have. We actually have the largest Kali training platform, video training platform online to date. This year we're growing it. We're going to a whole nother level, adding another 1,000 new videos for it. But to get started teaching for Kali Center, under Kali Center, we have a couple of things. We're not very political when it comes to it, because we think that it's important. We think that training, especially training for self-defense, for self-improvement, I look at it more as a need than just like a want. So I keep it very political free. So someone can start with our YouTube videos. We've got hundreds of free YouTube videos. You can join the Kali Center University, grab some DVD downloads, and just start training the material. And I'm a big, I definitely advise that when you train the material, find some local training partners. You can start up a training group and just start getting training. Like Socrates said, the highest form of learning is through teaching. So I'm very, go teach. I give everybody everyone that's training under me, I say, go ahead. You have all the permission in the world to go teach it and start training and build it. I started at Kali Center University because not everywhere in the world is Kali accessible, but so many people see the benefits of it. So I wanted to make it very accessible for people. The other way that you can get involved, if you want more of like a set-in-stone certification type of instruction through Kali Center, is every year I hold my Kali Center, my instructor's training course. So I have that here in the States. Just sign on up to it, come on out. It's a week-long training. It's a whole lot of fun. We take you through from the very first step all the way through, and it's an apprentice instructorship. And once you complete the course, then you have your apprentice apprentice certification so you can start training under the guidance of Kali Center. And then you can always advance your training and advance your instructor ranks as you move on, as you see fit.
Could you mind to share the main 5 principles that underlines in the system Kali?
Okay, well, there's when we teach Kali, I teach Kali a little bit differently than a lot of other instructors. So I teach Kali for three main sectors of it. The first thing is, so when you follow Kali Center, you'll see this slogan that pops up, and it says Kali Fitness Lifestyle. So for my training personally and for my students, I want them not to only gain the benefits of self-defense, but I want them to really gain the benefits, the fitness quality, the health quality, the quality of life, the value of life, and then being able to apply what they learn in their Kali training to every aspect of their life. One of the things with Kali, especially something I learned from training at the Pekiti Tirsia, is that our philosophy is that we believe in life, we believe in good health, we believe in success. So that's really what we thrive for with all of our students. So when we look at just the category of Kali, right, Kali is the physical training where you're learning the strategies, the tactics, the techniques, the principles of Kali. You're learning how to counter, you're learning how to attack, you're learning how to protect, how to control range, how to dominate at the timing, gain good position. And those things are good for the quality of life. So we teach how to do all those things, and then in a Kali, a self-defense type of situation in training. And then we want to take those strengths and then be able to apply those to the other aspects of our lives, whether it's relationships, our health, our businesses, whatever it is. We want, obviously, in our relationships and in our businesses, we want to make sure that we have good strategy, good tactics. We're quick, sharp thinkers. We're strong physically so that we can last throughout the day, right, or throughout the week or month. So nothing really stops us. And that's really kind of the main philosophy of the Kali Center. Use the physical training to improve the quality in all the other aspects of your life. Then the self-defense is super, super easier to learn. You're naturally going to learn the self-defense because you're building the quality of your life. You're building the value, the quality of your lifestyle. So you have more purpose to protect it.
Could you mind to share with us, do you have any certain steps of the teaching of the person?
So if someone comes to me in my classes, typically what we always start with is building coordination. So coordination is the foundation of everything. So we want to make sure they have coordinated striking, they understand striking mechanics, and that they understand footwork. And then we start putting the striking with the footwork, because it's important that we can move and strike at the same time, and we know where to move with what strike at the same time, so we don't cross up our body and create confusion in our body. After that, then we start teaching the tactical methods. Each tactical method has a set of principles that we teach along with that method. So one of the things is you're going to start learning how to protect yourself. So you have to understand the positioning, how to move your body, what the purpose of moving your body is. You have to understand the proper alignment of the weapon or the block or counter of how you're protecting yourself. Right? And then you have to understand what it is you're actually doing. So, are you making contact with something? Are you following something? And what's the purpose of that? So each method has its own set of principles. But the number one thing is to always start building with the coordination. Coordination, agility, and flexibility. Those are the 3 foundations. Because we want to build people's athleticism up, because then we can really build up their combative skills as well. But you got to have the athletic foundation first.
Okay.
When I'm teaching private students, I still start with that. But with classes, we'll start with the stick first, and then we'll move through the different weapon categories, the knife, the empty hands. For a private student that comes to me for specific needs, then I custom tailor the training to their needs.
Does it important for you the differences between which knife to use?
No, not really. I like using, here in the States here, we can carry mostly pocket holder knives. As long as it has a reliable lock, I like to make sure that my knives stay within the laws of where I am as best as I can. But the shape doesn't really matter to me. It's not, the skill is not in the knife itself, it's in the practitioner.
learning how to work with the knife for 1, 3, 5 years, and after, when he is going outside from the gym to the street and he faced the real situation, he doesn't know what to do. He just run away or something like this. Why does it happen?
Because they didn't have the proper training. So one of the things that I talk about a lot, especially with my students, is that you don't want to dedicate 20 years of martial arts training to prepare yourself for a situation and then find out that what you've done for the last 20 years has not given you the solution to the problem. Most of the time when that happens, now the knife is a very scary thing. I think in a self-defense situation, the knife is the worst tool, worst weapon to be up against because it doesn't run out of ammo. It doesn't need too much accuracy. As long as somebody can hold it and they know that the sharp and pointy end goes forward, it's very dangerous, right? So one of the biggest things that people don't understand how to handle their awareness, they don't understand how to handle their environment. So you have to be able to navigate within the environment. That's why the number one thing that I teach is coordination and footwork. Right? You have to understand the footwork. You have to be able to control the range. You have to be able to understand timing. You need tactics. You need strategies. Most people train for techniques. They just build a big list of techniques. But then you start realizing that you don't have the attributes, you don't have the skills to actually apply the techniques. You never learn strategy and tactics and timing and range control and all these things. And they didn't go through the proper process of training where they're able to build the will in the mind. Training is not just about, being able to take the hit. You got to know how to give the hit back. And in my experience of teaching over the last, nearly 10 years now teaching, the biggest problem that I've seen in students, besides the lack of coordination and proper attitude development, is really that, everybody comes to me and they say, I'm okay with getting hit, but I'm not okay with hitting the other person. So we need to desensitize that, okay, you need to hit other people because if you want to protect yourself, you have to believe that you're worth that protection. So I think that's really the main reason why people end up running away is okay. Running away is a great solution for dealing with the knife. You don't want to freeze up and then just be, getting stabbed and cut up. That may happen to kind of, deer in the headlights. You freeze up really because you just did not go through the proper steps of training to desensitize your mind and build strategy, tactics, and a full understanding of the engagement.
Could you mind to share with us about tactics and strategy in your system?
Yeah, so the strategy is basically, it's the overall idea of how you're going to operate. So it's like in business, right, you have your business plan, you have your business model, and the model is, this is everything that I need to do to be able to protect myself, right, and deal with the situation. So one of the things when we're talking about strategy, the number one thing is to be able to protect yourself from all strikes and attacks. Regardless of how many opponents there are, you need to be able to protect yourself. And that is primarily with footwork, range control, and understanding proper weapon alignments and proper positioning for your body. And then we look into neutralizing the weapon of the opponent. So we have to take care of the initial problem. So primarily in Kali, if someone's attacking us with a knife, we want to take that hand out. The hand that's holding the knife, we want to take it out of commission. Once we've neutralized the weapon, now we can go ahead and take care of the rest of the situation. We can dominate the combat by taking this person out of commission. We can restrain them. We can leave the situation. The tactics is the how you're going to apply. How are you going to get to the position? What's the position you need to get to? And what are you going to use striking-wise to get there? So when we teach footwork, we're teaching you the tactics immediately behind that. So in Kali, we have a lot of the triangles. And you're going to see that the triangles take us off of the threat, which is the center line, and it puts us to a better position, what we call flank positions. It's a lot of the same tactics that were used by Alexander the Great. They're used by some of the Roman armies. A lot of these great warrior warriors, tribes, and empires used these flanking tactics that we use today just to gain better position, sometimes to create confusion in the enemies. And that's the main thing. When it comes to strategy and tactics, it's really the what, why, how, where, and when.
How do you think, does the psychological preparation is important for the person before he started working with a knife?
Absolutely. The knife is, in my mind, the most advanced skill set when it comes to really any martial arts training. This is why we typically start people off with the bolo, with the long weapon, the stick, and then we will move that into the knife and into the anti-hand. When you're starting the training with a longer weapon, this allows you to develop the full mechanic of your body, the full coordination. It's easier to see when you're moving with a training partner. And you want to build these tactics, you want to build the timing. I mean, the stick moves faster than the knife. So when you're starting to build your skills off of that speed, it has more range than the knife, so you have to have more range of awareness and control. So we start everybody there. That's usually the preparation. From there we might go to two sticks, then we might go to the knife. But the knife, it takes a little more courage. You got to get in there. You got to get a little more dirty, get your hands a little bit more dirty to really operate against the knife. And then really the last thing that we kind of save for the end, because it takes a tremendous amount of skill, is if you're empty hands versus the knife. That is the worst situation possible to be in my belief.
How do you think, why today we have such a situation when we have so many people that's really willing to teach knife fighting?
I think most people don't want to take the responsibility of their self-defense in their own hands. Especially the knife. The knife scares people. I've been teaching Filipino martial arts for close to 10 years now. This is kind of one of my missions for Kali Center, is to show people that it doesn't have to be as scary as what they think. The reality of the knife is very scary. I think we all understand what the knife does to a human body, to anybody. We've all maybe not been cut by another person, but we've all experienced being cut in life. Whether we're cooking, whether we're working some sort of arts, crafts, anything like that. We cut our finger, there's blood, or maybe we are at work and you're using a saw or something and you cut yourself really bad. So I think it's just people understand immediately the reality of the knife. They understand the consequence of mishandling the knife, and they understand that when you relate the knife with life, you start really understanding how fragile life is. So I think it's we do have a lot of people teaching the knife nowadays, but again, I think it's mostly that majority of people they kind of shy away from that because they understand the reality. It scares them, and that kind of makes them neglect their own personal safety. And I think it's important for us instructors. We need to clarify that. We need to clarify the reason. Why are you doing this training? Why are you protecting yourself against this? That's a hard question to ask to answer. Just because I've always made sense of why I should train with a knife. And it's very difficult to make sense of other people's reasons not to. To me, it's silly not to take the responsibility of your own personal safety.
What pushed you to start teaching knife fighting?
The thing that started pushing me to teach knife fighting is, really Kali in general, is that it enhanced the quality of my life. It enhanced my awareness. When you're training with a weapon, you're instantly becoming more aware of, and you become more responsible for your own choices and your own lack of choices, your lack of decisions as well. That's really the main reason why I train it, and that's the main reason why I started teaching it. to recognize opportunities and then having the courage to seize those opportunities at the right time. I mean, when you're looking at knife defense, I mean, self-defense against a knife is kind of a ridiculous term. And the reason being is that when you're training in the mindset of self-defense, you're already starting behind the time of the attack. So to train self-defense, you are kind of admitting to yourself that you need somebody to do something bad to you first before you can take care of yourself, before you can take care of the situation. And the issue with the knife is that once that thing starts moving and you lose track of it, it's going to be very, very difficult to catch up and regain composure. So the reason I started teaching that is to clarify the ridiculousness mindset of self-defense and start teaching people to understand that there's opportunities. If you're in a self-defense situation, which sometimes happens, but a lot of times the reason you're in that position is because you missed steps prior before that situation. All right, so our training is different mentality-wise. I teach, look at the opportunities beforehand, train the skills so that way you have the confidence, you have the skills for the worst case scenario, but also train to be smart. Don't train to wait for the worst possible situation or time to take care of yourself. So it's all I teach because I'm inspired by opportunity.
Could you mind to share with us, does the Kali has some advantages that distinguish it from other systems?
Absolutely. Kali, like I said before, Kali traditionally starts with the weapons. Most other martial arts start with the empty hands. And the reason that we start with the weapons first is to prepare not only you physically for an altercation, but to prepare you psychologically for the altercation. I mean, if you can deal with weapons which move faster, pose a greater threat on your physical well-being, when you strip that down to empty hands, it's not such a big deal anymore. You're more ready to deal with a punch or a kick once you've already gone through the psychology of dealing with weapons, whether it's impact weapons like sticks or edged weapons like knives or anything like that. One of the advantages that it also gives us is that, we can read situations, I think, a little more clearly, a little more accurately. I have this discussion with a lot of my friends who train other martial arts, and they put up their hands or what, they offer their position. I go, okay, well, I'll take my knife out and cut your hands. And now your entire martial arts has been nullified, right? It's been defeated because you're so reliant on your hands and punching and kicking. Well, I'm thinking one step ahead. Kali teaches us to think one step ahead of our opponent. Where can I get the advantage? And then I take that advantage. And again, that's the opportunity. If another martial artist puts their hands up as they're ready to fight, and say I was to pull the blade and cut the hands, their fighting is over instantly, right? So not that it's that we're going to necessarily do that. There's other things that we can apply. We can apply the principles of neutralizing weapons to destroying the hands. We can use our elbows. We can use our elbows to destroy our opponent's punches. We can use our knees to destroy their kicks. But just the fact that Kali gives us that one-upmanship over other martial arts, because we don't look at anything as necessarily a threat. We look at things as opportunity targets. That's what we look at, punches, kicks, and all that. They're just targets for us to destroy.
How do you think why people decided to start working with a knife?
I think because it's a necessity. Here in the States, and even in all other areas of the world, violence has not necessarily, I wouldn't say violence necessarily has gone up, but we definitely have more media coverage of it. So it's opened up more awareness of the needs to fight or to train the knife, to protect yourself against the knife, but also not just on the self-defense aspect. I think the knife is intriguing to people. It kind of sucks people in because it's very primitive. And one of the things, especially nowadays, because we're so wrapped up and connected to our technology, I think we look for that intensity from the primitive state, the primitive mind, the reptilian mind, the kind of going back into the old, caveman type of thing. And I think that draws a lot of people in because you can't lose the awareness and the knowledge of your roots. I think if we do that, then we really kind of lose what it is to be human, on this planet. So I think that's kind of really what's drawing people in. I think the main thing is people have an idea of what initially draws them into any kind of martial arts training. But as you're training, you're going deeper into the training, especially if you have a good coach, you start peeling back the layers of these meanings, and you start really getting to the core identity of the reason why you started training. You really started training, and I think that's really kind of the main thing. The self-defense draws people in, but I think it's more than that. The knife is a challenge. I think people need a challenge. It's risky, so people like the adventure of risk, and I think that's really the main thing that draws people in, kind of in that core underneath the surface picture that's painted with self-defense.
How do you think does a knife has some future in 21st century?
All right, so the knife in the 21st century, I think it's, the knife is one of the oldest tools that we've used as humans. We picked up sticks and we picked up rocks and we immediately started to sharpen them. So it's something that has been with us since the dawn of human time. I don't really think that it's going to go anywhere. It's not going to go away anywhere because it's still such a needed tool. When you look at a knife, most people, when they think of a knife, they think of it as an object of, in martial arts, we think of self-defense. But a knife is really, it's just a symbol of change. You use a knife to create a change, whether that is, cutting somebody to stop them or anything like that, or whether you're a doctor, you're in the surgery room, and you're helping somebody's life, right? Or if you're cooking, you use a knife so that way you can cut things down in bite size, throw things into a pot. So the knife is a good symbol of change. It's adaptability. We've been using it, like I said, from the dawn of our time. And it's the oldest, most primitive type of tool that we've been able to use that's been able to adapt us and evolve us as humans. Even to build, these machines and stuff, we need some sort of blade to be able to cut the material, mold the material, and all those things. We need blades to be, machines to cut other machines just so we can build machines, right? So the knife it's so accessible. It needs to be accessible to people. As far as like a self-defense mindset, the knife is the easiest thing to get our hands on. It doesn't just have to be a knife. Anything that can puncture, anything that can cut. So when you train the knife, you're training your skills to be able to use a pen, to be able to use a fork, to be able to use your keys. Anything that you can pick up in your hands and either cut or puncture with. So it's very adaptable. It allows us to be adaptable, to evolve. And in extreme close quarters, when you're real tight, even in a self-defense situation, the knife can definitely outlast a gun. Because the gun can jam, it can run out of ammo, things can happen with it. But the knife, it just keeps going. And I think that's great symbolism for people because, at a time, human beings were almost extinct. But I really believe that it's the ability of having something that can cut, that can create change, that allows us to adapt and survive. That's why I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think the knife is going to be with us for all of our time as human beings here on Earth. And then, if Elon Musk gets us to Mars, I think we're going to take the knife with us.
Do you have any certain criteria according to which you can understand who is the real master and who is not?
As far as the knife, I don't think anyone can really be a master when it comes to knife for self-defense. Just because every situation see me do things all the time. But as far as like, if you were to put the title of master on somebody that practices, teaches, trains Kali, it would have to be somebody like Master Sergeant Manuel Prado of the Philippine Force Recon Marine. This man has served his country. He spent 21 years in combat. They've used Kali in combat. He has, his guns, they run out of ammo, they jam up, and they've had to go blade to blade with the enemy. I think that if you haven't experienced that type of setting over and over and over again, then you really don't deserve the title of master. I don't know if there's really any master of the knife. It's really just a master of survival. The master of, okay, I can get myself out of that situation. A master of awareness type of thing. But as far as the knife itself, yeah, I don't believe that there's any knife master. If there was to be one, here's an analogy that I kind of use, is that who's the most skilled with a knife? The person who gets the knife in their hand first. That's the most skilled with the knife.
Can you recommend something to the people that just decided to start working with the knife?
Yeah, get a practice knife. I would say find a qualified instructor in your area. If you don't have one, go to KaliCenter.com. I'm going to do my own little plug here, but go to KaliCenter.com and check out the Kali Center University. We have so much knife fighting, knife skills, knife training information up there. But yeah, grab a training knife and you got to start training right away. You got to practice, and you got to practice every day. You got to dedicate yourself to it. There's a saying out there that you've probably heard of it. I'm sure you have, that knowledge is power. Only if it's the right knowledge. So if you want a qualified instructor, make sure that they can move with a live blade, with a real knife at full speed, full power. You don't start that way if you're getting started, but make sure that your instructor has those qualifications, that they can do that with confidence. When you join the online university at KaliCenter.com, you're going to see that we do display live blade training. We do everything. Everything that we teach, we do it. We do it in our training, we do it in our sparring. I mean, it's been done. So that's my advice to a new person. Grab a trainer. If you don't have a training knife, just grab a dowel rod, anything that you can cut up and make it small, grab a pen, anything, and just start moving and start training and exploring the information. And don't be afraid to look bad, because we all look terrible day number one. None of us know what we're doing in the beginning. It's hard in the beginning. Everything new is hard. Just stick with it. Just be committed, stay dedicated, stay strong with it, and you'll be surprised how